Whoa, my hair looks crazy. My hair looks kind of crazy. That's okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Alyssa here. So today I'm just going to talk about my travel nursing assignment in Los Angeles, California and how it's been. And I'm also going to give you guys my top tips for travel nursing as of right now. I know I already did a video of like my top 10 tips for travel nursing, but I feel like now I have more experience and just time has passed, things have happened, so I feel like it is important to just, I don't know, make another video about it. So first, guys, please like, subscribe, comment if you want to see more. If you have any questions, please ask away. Also, if you guys want to see daily content, subscribe to my TikTok. It's at Liz Gray on TikTok. I post there nearly every single day. At least I try to. So let's get started. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Hope you find what you've been looking for.
So to start off, I want to say thank you to you guys for your support on the last video. It really did mean a lot to me. I really do think that Redonda Vaught could be any of us, and that's all that I'm going to say on it. That's free Redonda. That's all I'm going to say. My travel nursing experience in California so far, it's been amazing. Some of the nurses have been a little bit catty, but I mean, it's not any more catty than how, you know, Miami or any other person in the nursing profession is. Definitely the patients, I feel, are kind of like a higher caliber of patients. If some of you guys follow me on TikTok, you'll see where I had discussed that I had a patient that was giving out Starbucks to us every single shift and buying Starbucks for us every shift. I mean, it's just insane, and that's like a normal thing here. I think the best thing about California nursing is definitely the fact that they do have laws for breaks, they have laws for staffing ratios, and they have break nurses. So I've now been to 2 different hospitals in California, and I don't know why my voice just quivered like that. So I've been to 2 different hospitals in California, and the first hospital we would do a 10-minute break, a 15-minute break, a 30-minute break, and then a 25-minute break at the end. This hospital, we do a 15-minute break, a 45-minute break, and that's it. The last hospital I was at was in the Valley, and I've read a lot on TikTok too that in the Valley, more of those hospitals will try to kind of like come out of ratio and try to give you 3 to 1. I did have that almost happen to me one time, but luckily the situation worked out where it didn't have to happen to me. But I didn't know at the time that they actually have proper channels that you can go through in the hospital if you do get tripled, and you can fight it and they'll actually listen to you because legally they have to. It's only if you bring it to their attention. So you don't just have to sit back and take it like how you do at other hospitals. Even though at other hospitals I have refused assignments because I've been like, this is way too unsafe. But anyways, most hospitals in California, or all hospitals in California, should be 2 to 1 for the ICU, and then for the floors it should be 4 to 6, etc., etc., based on your specialty. And I really wish that they would have that for every single hospital in the US and every state. I think it would be better for patients, but whatever. What I can say, my least favorite thing about California nursing is the floating. Everyone that I've spoke to that has travel nursed to California, because they're unionized, we always float first, which I wouldn't mind so much, but I've floated multiple times in a shift. The last hospital I was at in the Valley, I floated, oh my gosh, one time I floated 5 times in a shift, but they're conscious about it when they float you, so sometimes they'll just float you the entire night, like just to be a tech or a CNA or a resource nurse. But it's just annoying having to float multiple times a shift, or sometimes they will float you and have you take multiple assignments throughout the night, and at that point I'll just write a note for the patient, and because I wasn't even able to take care of them that long, and I'm not going to do all that documentation, but I am going to do enough to, like, you know, CYA. So, you know, I'll document enough in the chart and write a note to, you know, make sure that it's known that, you know, I was present for the patient and took care of them, but for a very short time, and that the patient was okay under my care, you know? So that's pretty much it as far as California nursing goes. I am really enjoying this hospital, and I don't know, a big part of me really wants to stay here and wants to stay here as a staff nurse, but because I really am happy here and I kind of finally feel like I found my home away from home, but a big part of me wants to continue to travel and see the world because I feel like I haven't seen everything yet, and I just feel like I'm not done yet, you know? So I'm gonna have to make that decision, but I have renewed here until August, so we'll see. So Also, Simba's a total Cali girl. He loves it here. Okay, let's get into my top 10 travel, not my top 10, just let's get into my top travel nursing tips for 2022. So, I often feel like a dinosaur now in the travel nursing world. Still, when I go to new assignments, there's multiple people that it's their first assignment and they're like, oh my gosh, you've been traveling for two years, 2.5 years, that's so long. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, I'm a dinosaur, whatever. I thought I was still a baby traveler, but I guess not. So anyways, with that, I share my wisdom. It's not much, but here it is. If you guys have any specific questions, let me know and I'll answer them. But still, my number one tip is always research the places to live specifically for your needs and for whatever dates that you want prior to signing the contract. Too many people that I know sign the contract blindly and they don't have a place to live and they end up in these crappy living situations. And for me, honestly, for the 3 months, having a good living situation is one of the things that makes it or breaks it for me. You know, I had a roommate who was ended up having to rent a room at some couple's house, and they weren't giving her space in the fridge, they weren't giving her parking, they weren't doing a lot, and basically, they wanted her to text them every time that she came and went. It was crazy. But sometimes, especially with the oversaturation of the travel nursing market right now, it's extremely hard to find a place to live. I was ready to take a contract in South Dakota or North Dakota, one of the Dakotas, and there was absolutely no places to stay on Airbnb, no hotels, nothing, Furnish Finder, nothing, so I couldn't take the contract. But imagine if I would have booked that contract. Right now, with the oversaturation in the market, my newest tip would be to renew if the rate doesn't drop. If you enjoy the place, if you're enjoying where you're living, and you can stand to be there another 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 13 weeks, I would just say renew again if you enjoy it, because right now, just with the oversaturation in the market, by the time that you find another contract, it is going to be, I don't know, sometimes they're getting more few and far between, and they're just harder to snag. Not to say that they're not still abundant, because they are, but the one that you have your eye on, you may not get right away. So if your rate isn't really dropping and you're happy there, I would say just stay and get your money. That's all I'm saying, and be happy. But that brings me to the flip side, where if your recruiter's telling you that the rates are dropping and you're not going to find another contract, and you better renew, and you really don't want to renew and you don't like it there, don't renew. Don't stay there just for the sake of doing what they're telling you to do, because I can tell you from experience, even before COVID, this entire nursing payment scale is a spectrum. The crisis contracts are a spectrum. It's always going to be a spectrum. They're always going to go down. They're always going to come up. So you can either do what I like to do, which is go home, spend some time with your family, and just wait it out 3 or 4 weeks, and the contracts will change. Usually they'll increase from whatever lower rate that they were. Or you can also, which I've done, is pass the time by taking a 4-week contract of a little bit less money, maybe in a spot that you don't like as much, or even maybe a little bit more money in a spot that you don't like as much, and then take a contract that you really want when those contracts pop back up. Okay, if you're somebody who does not like to float a lot, always ask about floating. Always. Because most likely you're going to float. A lot of people like to say, I like to put a floating clause into my contract, but if it's a good contract in a good hospital with good pay, it's very rare that the hospital will sign that contract, but they might. You never know. It doesn't hurt to try. But for me, if it's a contract that I really want, I won't really put anything in my contract. I will sometimes put only float once per shift, because after that experience that I had told you about last time in California, where I floated like 5 or 6 times per shift, that was crazy. So sometimes I'll put that in. But, frequently I'll go to contracts and I won't know that it was actually for float pool. And even the hospital will tell you when you interview with them, they'll be like, you only float 1 to 2 times per week, or 1 to 2 times every 2 weeks, and you're primarily ICU and you shouldn't float at all. But come to find out, when you get to the hospital, they lied to you. Now, that is a reason to cancel your contract if you want to. For me, I'm just like, they're giving me the pay that I feel that I'm worth. Yeah, they did lie to me, but if it's not a terrible floating experience, also if it's not an unsafe floating experience, then I'll just stay. But I will let my recruiter know what happened, so that they can tell the next people that are going to be going to that hospital from my agency. Okay, another tip that I still have is to ask about their insurance. So make sure that you ask what type of insurance they have, when their coverage starts. Some places the coverage starts the first, like the month after you start working, so you could start working on the 6th and your coverage won't start until the 1st. Or some places the coverage will start immediately, so if you start on the 6th, your coverage will start on the 7th, and that's one of the most ideal things. Also, you want to ask how the insurance ends / when it ends, and also how it kicks back in. So, for example, if you finish a contract, does it end immediately when you finish the contract? Does it end on the 1st of the next month when you finish the contract? And also, if you re-sign a contract within 3 weeks, do you get to keep your insurance, or does it lapse? Because some places, if you re-sign a contract within a certain amount of time, you'll be able to keep your insurance for the entire time in between those contracts, which is one of my favorite things to do. Another tip that I have is to get a compact license if your state offers it, and if your state doesn't offer it, then whatever state that you're traveling to, apply for the license. Even if they don't require it under like crisis or just under travel nursing, just make sure that you apply for the license, because your agency should pay for it, so you're getting a free license. And also, worst comes to worst, you always want to have a license in the state that you're practicing in. But if you do have a compact license and you just want to get a license in that state, while you're there, just see if your agency will pay for it, because primo. And then you can always go back there. As far as crisis contracts go, I think that everybody should have a New York license and a California license. So try to travel there with your agency and get your agency to pay for it if you can. If not, then just apply for those licenses and get them. And then that leads me to my next point of signing on with crisis agencies. I'm not going to tell you what crisis agencies I think that you should sign on with here, but definitely sign on with a few crisis agencies, not just for COVID, but also for strikes, hurricanes. There are a few other really good opportunities for travel nurses for crisis nursing, and frequently it'll be in Florida, California, and New York. And New York is not a compact state, and I don't believe that California is either. So make sure that you get those licenses if you plan on doing this long term, or if you think that you'll travel to those states. Always calculate your taxes prior to accepting your assignment and see how much that you'll make versus how much that you're going to spend living. And don't ever exempt from taxes. Ever. That's all I have to say on that. Talk to a tax person if you have more information, if you want more information. If a contract is offering you a incentive to finish the contract, like $5,000 bonus if you finish the contract, $2,000 bonus if you finish the contract, don't sign the contract. Just don't do it. Don't. Research the hospital before you decide to take a contract there. Prime example, Vanderbilt. Think about somebody who lives under a rock, who doesn't have social media, who probably wouldn't even watch this video, so they wouldn't even get this advice, but it doesn't matter. But imagine I was going to go to Vanderbilt and I had no idea, and all that I had heard was good things about Vanderbilt. You always want to just research and see if there's current things in the news before you accept the assignment, to make sure that you really want to work there. That's all I'm going to say on that. Always make a list. I kind of feel like travel nursing is very much like camping, where you want to always make a list for travel nursing and stick to it. See, I have my list right here. This is my travel nursing list. So I'll normally do 4 pairs of scrubs, 5 outfits, 3 shoes, my Brita water pitcher, I'll bring a yoga mat, ab roller, my blender, my Nintendo Switch, my makeup. I'll have like a little bathroom list with just like my soap, shampoo, conditioner, oil. And then I also will bring my air fryer. And then I also have a little list for Simba, and his list consists of treats, food, bowls, his little raincoat, his leash, toys, his bed, and then his anxiety medicine for the drive. So just little things to think about. And then for my next point, transportation. Driving versus flying versus taking a bus versus, I don't know. So there are different ways that you can get to your assignment. For me personally, because I like to take my dog with me, I prefer to drive to my assignments, and I kind of make a road trip out of it, and it's a nice adventure for me. So for this assignment, I drove 5 days from Florida to California, and I'll film my road trip the next time so you guys can see everywhere that I stopped. But I don't know, I mean, I basically just map it out, see how many hours I have to drive per day, and then just get it done. I mean, if that's not something that you think that you can do, another option is definitely flying to your assignments, and then you can get your car shipped out to you. I know some nurses that do that, because rental cars, especially now that the pandemic's kind of over, even though it's not really, rental cars are way more expensive now, and people will pay over, like, sometimes $1,500 to $3,000 a month to rent a car. Whereas it can cost you $900 to $1,500 to ship your car one time, so you could do that. I also know of people who will drive their RVs to the assignment and tow their car, or I know people who will ship their RVs to the assignment and ship their car to the assignment and then fly to the assignment. So it all depends on the capital that you're working with, how long you can drive, how long you can bear to sit on a plane. For me, 36 hours in a car jamming to my favorite music and listening to Crime Junkie and whatever else, hanging out with Simba, is way more enjoyable than 5 hours in a plane with a bunch of strangers who won't wear their masks and who are just straight up disrespectful. So that's me personally. And then I think my last and final point for travel nursing would just be on travel nursing with an animal if you're single, like me. I guess 2 points. Actually, my first one is to always lock your doors and never let anybody know that you're travel nursing alone. I guess also don't post on the internet and tell them what state you're in until maybe a few weeks after you've left. There are also some safety devices that you can buy off Amazon, which I really enjoy. There's this one that you can put on your door, and it's like another padlock from inside your door, and people can't get into your room or your Airbnb, which is nice. I don't know, just make sure you have protection. And then as far as travel nursing alone with a pet, I always make sure to get a dog walker for Simba. So that's another thing that I like to research before I accept the assignment. I want to make sure that I have a trustworthy dog walker for Simba, and I'm not talking about like Wag or Rover. No offense to anybody that's used those or that believes in those or works for those apps. But if you Google it, there's been a lot of just controversial. I told them my dog wasn't good off of a leash. They let my dog off the leash and he got hit by a car, or, you know, people's dogs getting stolen and then sold. So I don't associate with those apps, but I do normally just Google dog walker near whatever city I'm going to be in, and I just get like a little mom and pop dog walker. Like when I was in California last year, I got a group of retired teachers that had started a dog walking company, and then this time over here I have a woman and her boyfriend who have been amazing with Simba, and they switch off taking care of him and walking him when I go to work. So there are always options to have the life that you want and to make sure that your pets are well taken care of and not neglected. You can also do overnight dog sitting, which these people offer, which I'll do with him sometimes as well. And they'll frequently take him over their house when I go to work too at nighttime. So, I mean, there's always ways to do what you want to do and to make sure that your pets are taken care of. It's just a matter of doing it. So those are my tips for travel nursing in 2022. Let me know if you guys have any questions on those. And yeah, if you have any questions on anything. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed, and if you have any questions. Also, follow me on TikTok. It's at Liz Gray. Bye guys. Have a good one. Oh, also, I don't know if I mentioned this about agencies, but don't just stick with one agency. Always make sure that you, I don't know, for me, I like to sign on to a bunch of different agencies and just talk to a bunch of different recruiters, especially when it comes to finding new contracts, just so that if there's a contract that I want with a different agency, I can just take that contract right then and not worry about being signed on with them.